Welcome to Spy School, the insider's guide to the shadowy world of espionage.
This is the show that reveals the tradecraft and tests out the methods used by real spies in the field.
And it's my job to see that these two are up to the task. My name's David Shaler. I used to work for British intelligence.
Coming up in the show, Lorna and Julian receive firearms training at a gun club in France, sniper practice at a paintball range, and I'll be showing you how to ensure your post doesn't contain any unwanted surprises.
Every new MI6 recruit is taught weapons handling during their induction course at the training facility at Fort Monkton in Portsmouth. And their instructor is a former SAS sergeant who was involved in the 1980 siege of the Iranian embassy.
They're taught to use the Browning 9mm pistol, standard British Army issue, and a variety of automatic weapons, including the Israeli Uzi and German Heckler & Koch submachine guns.
In reality, it's virtually unheard of for British intelligence officers to carry weapons, let alone use them. But that didn't stop us sending Julian and Lorna off to Calais, where they met top marksman Richard Roulance.
Je vais vous présenter quelques armes qui sont destinées à votre formation.
On display are a selection of revolvers and pistols. Revolvers have a round cylinder that acts as a magazine, whereas a pistol has an ammunition clip, usually located in the handle.
Alors je vais vous présenter ici le Beretta. Qui tire la munition 9 mm Parabellum, voilà, celle-ci, qui a un chargeur de magasin de 14 coups. Ici c'est une arme destinée à la formation des tireurs, c'est le pistolet unique, fabrication française, qui tire une munition 22 long rifle.
357 Magnum. This is the most powerful handgun. The Smith & Wesson is the most accurate.
Pour arriver au tir parfait, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire?
Maîtriser la respiration, à la position idéale déjà. Elle peut différer entre chaque tireur. La position 25 mètres idéale, c'est celle-ci. Certains tireurs sont très à l'aise dans cette position, d'autres sont très à l'aise comme ça. Je pense personnellement 3/4 comme ça. Et vous me suivez s'il vous plaît au stand de tir.
So Julian will be shooting with the Beretta and Lorna with the Max 50 training gun. It is important to take your time and line the shot up properly. Correct breathing is vital. You should hold your breath mid-inhalation when taking aim.
Entre les coups, vous pouvez mettre votre doigt le long, vous le tenez toujours votre arme. Voilà.
It's got a real kickback and a smell as well.
Ah, la
Not
dernière.
good.
Dernière attaque.
Julian was taking his shots too early, so his aim was well below the target.
Didn't hit the black once.
Peut mieux faire. Ouais.
When firing, you should smoothly squeeze the trigger rather than pull it. Handguns are not as efficient as shotguns or sniper rifles, but they are advantageous in some circumstances as they are so easily concealed.
Ah, il est sauvé.
He said I didn't hit anything.
Non, il y a rien.
I don't believe it. Basically, my problem is that I'm finding it really difficult to direct the bullets in the right place. It's quite heavy, but it's keeping my hands steady that's really hard. It's not as easy as it looks.
The chances of an MI6 officer having to use a gun in the field are slim, but every spy needs a good knowledge of self-defense. Goju Ryu expert Gavin Mulholland demonstrates a Japanese method for flooring a man who simply tries to shake your hand.
My name is Gavin Mulholland. I've been involved in the martial arts for 34 years. I hold black belts in 4 different combat systems. This technique we're going to look at is a derivative of a Japanese technique called Nikyo. The way we're going to use it is we're going to meet and greet our contact, who we think's been compromised, and we're going to take him down with a handshake. Hey, man. This technique, Nikyo, this is the weakest position the human arm can be in. It's been used by special forces and special operatives throughout the world. From this position, I can take him down with one finger. Okay, all these techniques are extremely dangerous. Some can be fatal. Don't try any of this at home.
Coming up later in the show, Shayla advises on how best to spot a suspect package, and I'll be meeting a British government agent who worked undercover in the Irish Republic and now lives in fear of his life. Up next, another slice of spy life as we hear more from ex-MI6 officer and whistleblower Richard Tomlinson, wanted by the British government after his sensational revelations in the book The Big Breach. This time, the plot to assassinate Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic.
The question is asked often of whether MI6 assassinates people. Well, the answer is I don't really know. I think it's possible. Certainly once I saw a plan to assassinate Slobodan Milosevic, who was then president of Serbia, but the fact is that he's still alive obviously shows that the plot wasn't carried out. But the plot was very real. It was shown to me by a junior officer who had written it. There were three sort of classic assassination scenarios, basically. One was to train up some of the Serbian resistance to carry out the assassination, either with a bomb probably, at one of the rallies that Milosevic spoke at. The second plan was to use the British Special Forces to attack Milosevic while he's at a public engagement, and just use a well-placed sniper shot. And the third plan was to kill Milosevic when he came out of the country and to attack his car while it was passing through one of the tunnels in Geneva, using a strobe to disorient the driver of his car and cause him to have a fatal accident. The strobe was a very, very bright flashing light, bright enough to temporarily blind someone. Something else I learnt in MI6, which there's quite a lot of relevance still, was that Henri Paul, who was the driver of the Mercedes in which Dodi Al Fayed and the Princess of Wales were killed. I'm convinced that he was still an informant for MI6 at the time of his death, and I'm also convinced that he's got a very substantial file in MI6, and that file contains almost certainly some very important information about the events leading up to the crash in 1997, which killed the Princess of Wales.
Measles. To give someone the measles is to murder them so efficiently that the death appears to be accidental or due to natural causes. The best accident is a fall of 75 feet or more from a roof onto a hard surface. Elevator shafts, stairwells and bridges all serve equally well.
Back now to the French gun club, where Lorna and Julian have been taking lessons in weapons handling from top marksman Richard Roulance.
Ensuite, on va passer au parcours de police. Vous allez tirer d'abord à 15 mètres derrière une palissade, puis à 10 mètres à genoux derrière un muret, un abri comme ça. Je vais vous montrer, je vais vous simuler les positions. Derrière la palissade, mettons la palissade est là, vous allez arriver comme ça, vous allez prendre votre pistolet, poser la main sur la palissade avec le pouce qui servira d'appui, poser le poignet dessus et tirer comme ça. Prenez votre arme.
Julian is firing a Beretta, a weapon used by the Israeli and Italian secret services.
He's certainly dead, but I missed him with the last one.
Lorna concentrates hard on the task at hand. The target should be hit squarely at least twice to be sure of a kill.
On sort l'arme, on engage le chargeur, on charge une cartouche et on y va. Et là on peut tirer un peu plus vite. Parce que là, tu es bien stable. Tu es bien stable. Et là, bam, bam, bam. Et là. Tiens bien, allez. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Et tout à l'heure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ok. Encore. Ok. Enlève le chargeur. Voilà. Là, il est mort grave. Hein. T'as vu les 5 hein? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Félicitations.
Merci bien,
Félicitations.
merci bien.
How'd you get on, Hotshot?
I killed him
Did you get him?
loads of times in the stomach.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Félicitations.
Oh, thank
C'est très bien, c'est la championne.
Elle est la mieux, non?
C'est la championne, c'est bien.
C'est clair.
Félicitations
Merci.
aussi, c'était très
C'est
bien.
pas grave,
Ah.
j'ai bu un bière.
Voilà.
Ça marche pour moi.
After the break, we'll look at close combat techniques of the Second World War. And we open the assassination file on Georgi Markov, a Bulgarian playwright who defected to Britain and ended up dead, poisoned with a spiked umbrella on Waterloo Bridge. Still a lot to cover on Spy School. Shayla gives us the need-to-know on letter bombs, and Lorna gets an exclusive interview with an agent who risked his life to inform on the IRA.
First, we join the syllabus for the Special Operations Executive, a team of undercover agents who were sent into Nazi-occupied France to fight the enemy from within. Here, we look at close combat techniques.
Good morning. My name's Lieutenant Gray, and my job this morning is to teach you on how to kill or dispatch an enemy sentry. There's lots of different methods to this. Obviously, you want to do it as quickly and silently as possible. Okay, the first method I'll show you is with a Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife. It's a double-edged blade designed primarily for a stabbing action to maim or kill the enemy. With the help of my colleague, Private Browning, I'll now demonstrate a few methods and techniques we use. Okay, as I've said before, you need to do this as quickly and silently as you can. So you're sneaking up from the rear. First of all, you need to cover the enemy's mouth with your hand to prevent him making any noise. Then bring the knife from the rear, through the kidneys and up into the lungs, and then pull the enemy back onto the floor. Alternatively, you can hold the knife differently, downward motion, stabbing the blade down into the neck, into the artery, slicing the throat from the front, or going for the main artery in the thigh on the leg.
Close combat killing was a vital part of an SOE agent's training. Otherwise known as silent killing, this method of combat was used when either the agent had lost his firearm or the need for silence was imperative. The technique was designed to kill an enemy sentry as quickly as possible. The agent would choose their preferred method and perfect it on dummies in case the need arose to use it.
Today we're talking about detecting letter bombs. Remember, this is strictly need to know. Good morning.
Thanks for watching.
Great, thanks very much. Cheerio. There's virtually no way to recognise a letter bomb. A terrorist or an assassin can go to extraordinary lengths to hide them. But there are a few pointers we can look out for, assuming you're worth the effort. Be particularly suspicious of anything marked private or personal that you get at work. Now, it's one of the great myths that a package bomb will tick. In fact, it won't, because it's not set in a timer. It's designed to go off when you open it. Some homemade devices may slosh, though, when you shake them. There are several other things you should look out for. Firstly, be suspicious of anything that arrives in a padded envelope. Also be suspicious of any package that arrives inside another envelope. Look out for white powder, like this here. This, of course, in this day and age, could be anthrax. It's the explosive which propels the spores around the room. Also watch out for excessive taping, like this. This may be part of the detonator of the bomb. Also look out for any smudges, grease marks or sweat marks on the envelope, as these could be deteriorated explosive. You would need to be particularly suspicious of an envelope like this. This is lopsided, it's heavy for its size, and it's quite squishy. The reason it might be quite squishy is because the bombers may have put a protective coating within the envelope to stop the bomb going off too soon.
Wet work. When spies go off to do wet work, they won't be climbing into their Lotus Esprit and driving underwater James Bond style. Wet work is any intelligence operation involving murder or assassination.
Now, in some countries, it's not what you do, but what you say that gets you noticed. So broadcasting details of the sex lives of Bulgarian political leaders on the BBC World Service was bound to cause problems for one Bulgarian dissident. This is the assassination file on Georgi Markov, who was murdered with a poisoned umbrella. Yuri Markov was an acclaimed Bulgarian writer, but in the 1960s he angered his government by writing a play about a plot to murder an important general. An arch-enemy of the communist state, Markov fled the country and defected to England in 1969, where he was granted political asylum. In London, he continued to anger his former country by working for the BBC World Service, broadcasting anti-communist propaganda, including the sex habits of Bulgarian leaders. At about 6:30 p.m. on September the 7th, 1978, Markov was walking over Waterloo Bridge on the way from his car to his BBC job at Bush House. Markov was walking past a bus stop when he felt a sharp thrust against his right thigh. Grasping his leg, he turned to see a stranger holding a closed umbrella. The stranger apologised in a thick foreign accent, then jumped into a cab. Markov felt no ill effects for several hours, then suddenly broke out into a sweat. He went home to bed, vomiting and fevered. His leg had stiffened so badly, a friend rushed him to hospital, though surgeons did not detect the toxic substance in time. 4 days later, the Bulgarian dissident died. Microbiological experts later found in his leg a minuscule platinum iridium pellet smaller than the head of a pin. The deadly poison that had been planted on the tip of the umbrella was eventually identified as ricin, a deadly toxin favoured by the KGB.
The best way to find out about the Secret Service is to speak to people who've actually worked for it. Tommy was recruited by British intelligence due to his contacts within the Republican cause. While he was working for the Force Research Unit, he spent several years working undercover in Ireland. For his own security, he's in disguise and going under another name. I met up with him to find out what he had to do in the name of the British government. Tommy, thanks for coming on to Spy School. Now, I understand that you were recruited by Army Intelligence in 1990. Why do you think they saw you as a valuable agent?
At the beginning, it's to do with a relationship that I was in and family members connected to that person. But nothing really developed until I moved to Northern Ireland, where I was introduced to certain individuals that are particularly wanted in Northern Ireland for terrorist offences.
I presume you had friends in the IRA. Did you ever feel like you were betraying them?
No. Why would you feel like you're portraying somebody who's murdered people, who's plotted to kill people, and that's not friendship.
What exactly was your job role once you were recruited?
What I will say is that all the information that the Army asked me to ascertain, some of it, a lot of it, was ascertained in the Irish Republic, and it wasn't ascertained by legal means. A lot of it was to do with official sources of information from persons who worked for state organisations. Unfortunately, that required making a payment to those individuals to part with that information.
So you're saying you had to bribe Irish officials for the British government?
Well, unfortunately, it seems to be a tool the British government seem to be using when it comes to official sources in the Irish Republic.
So you were trespassing on government property? Were you breaking and entering?
I unlawfully gained access to a number of installations scattered along the Northern Irish border on the Irish Republic side. From what I've been told by the Ministry of Defence, there is no legal authority of the British security forces asking people such as myself to operate inside the Irish Republic. In other words, everything that we've done, and people like me done inside the Irish Republic, was in all probability illegal.
Now, no democratic government in the world, with the exception of Israel, will admit to state-sponsored assassination. That doesn't mean that it doesn't go on.
There are many ways to assassinate someone, from the poisoned gas gun of Bogdan Stashinsky to the more straightforward car bomb. A clean kill is all important, and the assassin must have a straightforward escape route.
And sniping affords the easiest way out, so I sent Laura and Julian to a paintball club to test their sniping skills.
I'm Mark, I'm going to be your instructor for today, teaching you sniping assassination techniques. You must work within the effective range of your weapon. If the weapon has got a range of 1600 metres, then you've got to shoot within 800 metres to make sure of an effective kill shot. Putting at least 3 shots into the target is recommended for a certain kill. If there is a bodyguard, take the bodyguard out first. A couple of shots should disable him. He won't get in your way. You can then take out the bunny. Right, I'm going to introduce you to the weapons you'll be using today. These are paint marker guns. Simple action, you should be able to get used to them quite quickly. Bring the slide fully back, fully forward, pull the trigger. If you'd like to get used to the weight and the action of them. Okay, if you're happy, I'll take you upstairs and you can have a go at the exercise. This way, please. Now, you've got to remember to use any available cover when you're sniping. And be aware of your background as well. If you can blend in, that's good. Take this barrel. If you stand here shooting at somebody, they can see you. If you're down behind the barrel, you're minimising the amount of your body that's available. There's your vantage point. Your targets will be walking through the courtyard within the next few minutes. If you get the opportunity, you take them out.
Okay, I've got the mark. I can see them. There's two of them. The small one's the target. The big one must be the bodyguard.
Okay, Julian, can you see the subject yet?
No, he hasn't come into view yet.
Right, how was that?
Yeah, not too bad.
Okay, well let's go downstairs and see how we did. Main target here. I think we've got one shot on the knee. Okay, let's do a turn. You did actually hit him on the back, but the paintball didn't burst. But that would have been a definite kill, I would have thought. The bodyguard, unmistakable shot, centre of the back there. That would have definitely taken him out. But what you've got to remember is you should have hit them at least twice each for a definite kill. Otherwise, they could survive.